We're going to start today with a developing and significant story here in Ottawa. 4 ministers announcing they will not run again in the next federal election. The 4 ministers are National Revenue Minister Marie-Claude Bibeau, Filomena Tassi, she's the minister responsible for the Federal Economic Development Agency for Southern Ontario, Sports Minister Carla Qualtrough, and Northern Affairs Minister Dan Vandal. They joined 2 other high-profile, Liberal ministers who have also recently stepped down from cabinet, including former Transport Minister and Quebec Lieutenant Pablo Rodriguez, who quit cabinet because he's running for leadership of the Quebec Liberal Party, and former Labour Minister Seamus O'Regan, who said he was quitting to spend more time with his family. All of that will mean Prime Minister Trudeau will be shuffling his cabinet. Senior government sources tell us that'll likely occur in the coming weeks, though the specific date hasn't yet been landed on. The upcoming cabinet changes come as the Prime Minister faces growing pushback over his leadership. PEI Liberal MP Sean Casey this week went public saying Trudeau should step aside. And multiple sources have told CTV News that a group of Liberal MPs plan to submit a signed letter to the Prime Minister asking him to reconsider leading the party into the next election and verbally convey that to him at next Wednesday's caucus. Hi, Minister. Good to see you as always. Thanks for making the time.
Thank you, Vassy.
Minister, we reached out to your office about whether you were running, because I had heard, I'll be clear, some rumors that you might not be. We reached out to them on October the 3rd, exactly 2 weeks ago. Your office wrote, quote, "I'm happy to confirm that Minister Tassi will be our Liberal candidate in the riding of Hamilton West, Ancaster Dundas in the next federal election." What changed in the last 2 weeks?
Well, look, Vassy, this is a situation where I am always monitoring what is happening at home. And I have had conversations with the Prime Minister in this regard. And I think now it's time that I need to be closer to home with my family. So that's what the decision is rooted in.
And that decision was made just in the last 2 weeks?
It was made, I was reflecting on it and hadn't communicated that decision to the public until today.
And when did you communicate it to the Prime Minister?
I've had ongoing conversations with the Prime Minister over the last few months.
And when in that period did you communicate to him that you would no longer be running?
The exact date, I don't remember, but I've had the conversations to let him know that I was thinking about this and that the situation at home was one where I felt it was becoming challenging. You know, I've had that conversation with the Prime Minister before when I was Minister of PSPC. And so those conversations really were ongoing.
And certainly I don't want to pry, and everybody has, you know what I mean, whatever people are dealing with at home is your own business, and I can certainly respect that you want to be closer to home. I guess what I'm trying to ascertain is why your office, I guess nobody in your office had any idea you were making those reflections, because they didn't just say, yes, she's running. They said, we're happy to confirm that the minister is the Liberal candidate.
That's right, Vassy, yeah. So, I mean, you're running until you're not, right? And today's the day that I have announced that I'm not running, but this isn't a decision I took lightly. I've been contemplating this over the last year for sure, monitoring the situation, not sure what my decision was going to be, which is why I did everything required in order to be declared the nominated candidate. Part of that is just being an MP, right? So getting people to support you, knocking on doors, those sorts of things. But the situation is one that it's not easy for me, right? Today's an emotional day. But I believe now in my heart of hearts that this is the right decision. And so that's what makes it a little bit easier, but definitely an emotional day and not an easy time in the reflection period.
And is it the Prime Minister's office that asked all of you ministers to make the announcement on the same day?
Well, I'm not sure about what was communicated to the other ministers. I have been in communication with the Prime Minister's office to say, okay, I'm going to prepare a statement. And I had heard yesterday evening that it would be fine if I released my statement.
Okay. And just so that it's clear, and again, with great respect for your personal life and what you're going through, You know the narrative or the background context to this announcement, I'm sure, as well as everybody who's watching this program tonight, that your party has been 20 points behind in the polls now compared to the Tories for the last 9 months, that there are backbench members of your caucus who plan to present an official ask to the Prime Minister asking him to vacate that position, that you lost 2 Liberal safe seats in by-elections bookending the summer months. Does your decision have anything to do with the possibility or the probability that you would lose your seat in the next election?
No, it does not. I'm an open person. People that know me know the way that I operate. This decision is not an easy one. And I've taken time to pray about it and reflect on it and think about it. And maybe I'm going a little too personal here, but look, my husband has supported me in my life every step of the way. I would not be here if it wasn't for his support. And now it's time for me to be closer to home. And that's what this decision is rooted in. As I've said in my statement, I had confidence in the Prime Minister in 2015, and I have confidence in him today. This decision is all about me being closer to my family.
So you support him as the leader of your party?
I do.
And do you think he should lead the party into the next election? I mean, you're now taking a step away from cabinet. You can reflect on the current circumstances. You know the outside context to what your party is enduring right now. Do you think he can win the next election?
So I will say a couple things. First, I think that caucus has the right to talk about what they're feeling and what they're hearing. And caucus is the right place to do that. So those discussions should take place in caucus. The Prime Minister listens every caucus meeting. He's intent in his listening. He's understanding. With me, my personal experience, he's always been empathetic and understanding. And so those conversations, if people feel that way, there's absolutely the right that those conversations take place in caucus. And that's the format for it. With respect to the Prime Minister, I have confidence in the Prime Minister. If he's decided to run, then I have confidence in that decision. And in terms of the winnability piece, listen, well, first of all, I'm a fighter. I always have been a fighter. But I think that campaigns change everything. And he is one of the, if not the best campaigner that I know. So this decision for me is rooted in a personal decision in my family. You know that I went to the Prime Minister when I was in PSPC and said to him that I needed to be closer to my family after my husband had the 2 strokes that he endured. And as I have said, I've been monitoring that situation. People that are in the situation know that stroke recovery is what it is. And now it's time for me to be home with my family.
Do you think your party, and maybe I should be more specific, do you think that the leadership of your party, that the Prime Minister's reaction to where your party is in the polls, the dissatisfaction Canadians have expressed to you through those polls, maybe what you've heard at the door, I don't know if that's the case, but certainly other MPs have conveyed that, the by-election losses, do you think the response, which is basically to say that Canadians are very frustrated right now with the challenges they face. They like the policies of your government. They like your government even maybe, but they're taking those frustrations out on your government. Do you think that has met the moment? Do you think your party is doing what it should given all this, or are you just banking on the Prime Minister being a good campaigner?
No, look, it's more than that, right? And the Prime Minister is the leader of our caucus, and he's saying to us, we need to go out there and be listening to Canadians, understanding what they are sharing with us. We know that it's been a very challenging time for Canadians, with affordability, health care, housing, the environment. All these things are so important to Canadians. And he advises us all the time that we need to make sure that we are listening to Canadians and responding to them in a way that is making a difference. When I look at my own community, Vassy, with a number of measures that we've implemented, housing, over $500 million has been brought into Hamilton for housing. It's $5 billion in total since 2015 with all the commitments that the federal government has made in Hamilton, and the ambitious city with lots of potential. I think that as a leader, what he's saying to us is we need to respond to what Canadians are saying, understand their issues, and continue to deliver. And that's why we have those caucus meetings, so those things can be shared. And we can shape policy in a way that as we move forward, it's making a real difference in the lives of Canadians. So things like dental care, pharmacare, $10 a day childcare. But in addition to that, in my portfolio in particular, also ensuring that we're making investments in the potential of Canadians. Small and medium-sized businesses are doing amazing work, and they are creating the jobs and the growth. So that combined with, you have things like foreign direct investment that is reaching unprecedented levels,
And
where
yeah.
foreign countries are investing, and we want to make sure that we're creating that end-to-end supply chain. So this isn't a one-day thing. This is continuously working for Canadians to make life easier for them, to really understand the struggles that they're having, and to deliver results so that people can recognize that it is making a difference in their lives.
At the end of the day, though, with great respect, Minister, it's been 9 years. And the Canadians I speak to, and this is largely borne out by public opinion data, don't feel their life is easier, they feel their life is harder. And when you say, and when the Prime Minister says, we just got to keep on delivering, does that not fail to acknowledge that what you have delivered for many Canadians, the majority at this point, has fallen short? Do you understand why many of your caucus colleagues would feel that message is not resonating with their constituents, and ultimately culpability for that should lie at the feet of the leadership of your party?
Look, I think the world has faced challenges. We've got wars, we've got inflation, we've got interest rate. All these things are not unique to Canada. And prior to this, like you look at COVID, for example, the Prime Minister demonstrated fantastic leadership through COVID. We provided supports. I have constituents that say to me that they wouldn't be in their businesses today if it wasn't the supports that we provided. Is this now a time where there are challenges? Absolutely. But when you look at each of the challenges we're facing, we are working on them, and we're working hard on them. When you look at a housing...
And why are you losing by-elections?
Well, then we just have to keep working at it. It's not to say that Canadians aren't going through a hard time, but I think it's to impress upon Canadians that we want to continue to work in this regard to provide the supports to them, and that we do have hope, and things are getting better slowly. So the inflation rate coming down now to 1.6, the interest rates coming down. With us, with the initiatives that we have implemented, pharmacare, $10 a day childcare, tremendous difference in families' pocketbooks. You know, these are all measures that we have implemented, and we're going to continue to. You say that, of course, understanding that Canadians are struggling and having a hard time. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to just keep working harder in order to address the challenges that Canadians are facing.
Okay, Minister, I'm out of time. I have to leave it there. I appreciate your time today, and my sincere best wishes to your family, to your husband specifically, for his health. Thank you.
Thanks, Vassy.